Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I'm Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and today we are breaking down the San Francisco 49ers 2024 NFL Draft. It's a lot of fun watching all the teams pick their future rookies for the 2024 NFL season, and these will be these Niners selections here. But before we do that, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and also tackle that bell to get notified whenever we create new Niners content. We're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the start of the 2024 NFL season. So any help between now and September would be greatly appreciated. So Ryan, let's pull up the slides here. Niners started off here, get Ricky Pearsall. Really like this pick. One of the things I felt like that Niners have probably one of their biggest weaknesses is they have some of the best skill position players in the league. Chris McCaffrey's the best running back in the league. Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, great receiving combo. George Kittle, one of the better tight ends in the league. Trent Williams, probably the best left tackle. My issue was, and this is probably it's a weird issue, but like they had no comparable depth, so to say, and that makes sense too if they're all number one. But I think you go get a guy like Ricky Pearsall. What he'll allow to do if one of those guys gets hurt, I think you still have the ability to have like a functional, similar offensive system to what you're used to running. When we saw McCaffrey go down, Debo Samuel go down, Trent Williams go down as well, Brock Purdy was kind of just left out there naked and like didn't really have the same game-making players, that were around him. I think you go get a guy like Ricky Pearsall. He adds that level of consistency, that guy that Brock Purdy can lean on when one of those guys goes down, or honestly just in general. Like maybe some of those guys are having a bad day. He's a really diverse receiver as well, who I think can fit into any type of offensive system.
Yeah, and that to me, like we were talking about him a couple weeks ago, and I was kind of like, whatever your receiving room's weakness is, put Ricky Pearsall in that spot, and he will make it work because he just does everything. He lines up outside well, he lines up in the slot well, can play that Z spot for you as well, and so I really liked the fit there. I think Kyle Shanahan is going to have a great time with Ricky Pearsall there. Also, there are a lot of trade rumors circling the 49ers. I don't know if any of them will actually come to fruition, especially now that the draft has passed. So it'll be interesting to kind of follow those. But Ricky Pearsall, another great option there.
It'd be crazy now.
Well, that's what I mean is like, and I believe they make another wide receiver selection, but we'll get there eventually. But
yeah, great selection here in the first round. I thought it was a good value. He's kind of started off a little run on receivers. So I think for what they're looking for, he probably would have been – he is the best fit. I think him or Ladd, to be honest, but they're kind of interchangeable. So moving on to their second pick, though, they ended up trading back one spot with the Kansas City Chiefs. They end up getting Renardo Green, cornerback here. I think that is a spot. I think also, too, feel like a Niners pick as well. You can't have too many bad secondary players as well, or just defensive players. So they spent a lot. They lost a lot on the defensive line, but then they gained up a lot through free agency, bringing in a lot of players as well. So kind of revamping that defensive front. So I think here, addressing the secondary with the second round pick on a cornerback was a smart route to go.
Yeah, I agree that drafting a secondary player here is a good route to go. Don't necessarily love the player as much. Very, very good. I don't want to say statistical production because that'll contradict what I'm about to say, but he only had one interception throughout like 54 games. And some of that was people just didn't throw him out a lot. But that is one thing that is a cause for concern when evaluating defensive backs is just overall lack of production. And he just didn't have a lot of it. And so good, like he looks good on tape. He moves well, can be sticky in coverage, just not a whole lot of production.
Yeah, so it was interesting too because they were talking about that on the ESPN, the live feed. It's like there was we had a lot of those where there was like two players in the same position on the team got drafted. Like one was like the elite level talent, like Chop Robinson, for example, but then you had Adis Isaac, or like Joe Alt and then like Blake Fisher. And so you had a lot of like dual reasons why you select somebody. Like on film, like just an amazing specimen, there's physical freak, whatnot. But there's some like maybe didn't test super well. But then you had guys though didn't have the production on the field. But then you had guys that had production on the field, but they didn't test very well. So it's going to be very interesting kind of as these next couple of years go and you see some of these guys that came from the same team, but just had like a little different off-season experience.
Yeah.
how those guys ended up translating. And Renardo Green, I think, is one of those guys, as you talked about, statistically, didn't really put up that much during his time in college. But you watch the film, though, like, this dude's a beast. I understand why there's statistically
Yeah.
no one's throwing it to him, because he's locking everybody down. So it's
Yeah.
going to be interesting to see how he develops overall with the 49ers. But let's move on, though, now to their last pick in the top 100, Dominic Puny. It was a tackle out of Kansas, but he's going to kick into guard most likely as well here. And I think this is a solid pick for the Niners, who, for how good their offense is, and I think a lot of it too, just from how great Trent Williams is, but they need a lot of help on the offensive interior. I think this is a good selection here by the Niners.
Yeah, no, I agree. He did play left tackle out at Kansas, but he is a little undersized to be playing tackle, so he's probably going to kick into guard at the NFL level, but very athletic guy, good in both the run and pass. He is just, again, because he is kicking inside, he's going to be a little bit more of a projection, which is kind of why he fell. So let's move on to their day 3 picks here. And starting off, Malik Mustafa, the safety, just a good versatile safety there. Isaac Garendo, the running back from, I believe, Louisville, and he ran like the 4.35 at 220 pounds. Him and Jalen Wright were just absolute monsters at the combine. So really good value there, especially for that Kyle Shanahan outside zone scheme. Also going to be able to take a little bit of a load off Christian McCaffrey, I think. And then Jacob Cowing, another speedy wide receiver there from Arizona to kind of fill in. That's the wide receiver I was talking about.
Yeah. And so then wrapping up as well, Jared Kingston addressing that interior again as well. And then Tatum Bethune, probably mispronounced that. Sorry, Tatum. But linebacker as well. And so just getting good depth pieces. But in general, though, I think the Niners had a solid draft. I think when you're picking second to last in each round, that you're just going best player available. If you made it to the Super Bowl, you're on paper already a very solid team, and it's not too many overall weaknesses. But I think they did a good job overall at addressing what they could. And so Ryan and I, we did grade each draft, and so I gave grades kind of on draft classes compared against one another, not just on an individual basis. And so we want to move here to the draft grades. I ended up giving the Niners a B plus, so which was a little bit above average for me. While Ryan gave a B minus as well. But you were a little bit more tougher on some of the other teams' drafts. So this was about average for you. I think that's about what this Niners draft was. I think it was average. And when you're picking 31st and 63rd, as I mentioned, it's not going to be like that cream of the crop blue chip type talent. You're going to try and find some of those diamonds in the rough. I thought they got good talent here. You're going to need some development for a lot of the guys.
Yeah.
But even guys like Ricky Pearsall, Renardo Green, I think those guys can come in and slowly over time, I'm sure by the second half of their rookie year, they're going to be providing some good, consistent minutes for the team.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that to me, I think is like, for me, B minus to B plus was average. And for me, I look at that Renardo Green pick. Ennis Rakestraw went 3 picks before that. Really 2 picks if you take out the Kansas City trade. So I think they could have moved up and potentially grabbed him, which I would have been much more in favor of that than trading back and getting Renardo Green. So for me, I like that move in itself makes them slightly below average. But you did identify guys that you went out and liked and targeted and got them in the building. So I think that's always a good sign for these organizations. So all in all, I think this was a good draft for the San Francisco 49ers. Let's go ahead and wrap it up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you thought of the 49ers draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you have done differently? And then that we'll see you guys next time.